Of course, this anecdotal example isn't the only one we have. More recently, anyone with an internet connection has seen what happens when even dumb animals realize that the needs of the many, or the needs of the one, may outweigh the needs of the many. This is called Battle at Kruger. It was accidentally shot. I mean, just a home movie, as you can see, but it's a very dramatic thing. Anyone who has not seen this video, I have to warn you now, I choked up at it. It is inspirational. In the cold and cruel rule of evolution, a young weakling is singled out from the herd by a pride of lions. Working together, they wrestle this weakling up out of the water, and then they find some other natural competition in the form of a crocodile one did not see there. We have a baby now being pulled apart by a half a dozen lions and a crocodile on the other end. Fortunately, this collection of lions gathered together are stronger than one croc. This is fortunate also for the calf. I'll explain why in a moment. I apparently didn't time this very well. I edited this for this purpose. Maybe I edited it. It's the long version. Can you imagine what watching this had to be like for the people holding the camera? So, it's a fortunate thing that these lions realize that working together they can beat the crocodile, but they also passed the lesson to the next animal over, who figured out that a whole herd united, single-minded, can actually strip these lions of a bit of their pride. They all have the same intent. There is an element of urgency here. And it's an interesting face-off, to say the least. The first bull who charges into this herd knows what half a dozen lions will do to a buffalo. There is nothing efficient about the way a lion kills. It's horrific. It's agonizing. But he knows he has to act. He can't wait. There's an urgency. The calf is going to die imminently if he doesn't do something, whether his compatriots have gathered their strength yet or not. He also knows that where the lions will work together, they won't be able to take him down because his brethren will not allow it. This is where morality comes from. The unity of community demands cooperation, and that necessitates that we ascribe a value to someone else's life comparable to our own. And isn't it remarkable how a 500-pound cat is reduced to kittenhood in an environment like this? I've been looking at the screen. Have they yet released the cat?
Not yet.
Coming up. As I've already given away, that calf is alive. You see one lion still hanging on. He's about to face somebody, and I mean face them. And you're going to see a very definite, let go. And indeed he does.
Yeah.
See that?
Yeah. You may leave now.
Yes. You are not welcome. You are not hiding. You are not the coolest animals in this jungle. I have seen this replayed and re-edited very often with triumphant music. And there's one left. You're doomed.
There it goes.
Yeah, and remarkably, as you saw, they saved the calf. And the important lesson here is that sometimes even learned behaviors can be passed down. Now, when we're discussing the element of morality, then obviously altruism is not the only topic. Most people, it seems, think that whatever is moral or immoral is always somehow related to sex. Women in miniskirts have promiscuous people have And gay men, no morals at all. I laughed for 15 minutes.
Wrong on so many levels.
And of course, who are our ultimate moral guides? I want to tell you in advance, I did not put the slide on that I wanted to put on because my wife thought that the audience maybe makes the people's senses of humor may not be as dark as mine.
Do it.
Who did she decide was the ultimate moral guide? Well, of course, it's the clergy. Completely forgot where it was.
Ultimate moral guy.
Yeah. But if we're not talking about acts of violence or victimization, if we're only talking about sexual gratification between equals and always with mutual consent, then obviously there still is not any single universal standard for morality. Otherwise, we wouldn't have these things. This is a pair of New Mexico whiptail lizards, a species composed entirely of female clones, which reproduce parthenogenically. But as you can see, they're not entirely asexual. These lesbians are not fighting. They're mating. They require a mock courtship, the climax of which is actually required to initiate their reproductive system. So, if there was a single universal arbiter of sexual morality who also happened to have designed all animal species, then he also designed this species, and he made it so that this is the only way they can reproduce. So, he obviously doesn't object to homosexual lovers nibbling each other's backsides. Humanity's closest cousins, or their closest living relatives, chimpanzees, are divided into two distinct groups. The typical chimpanzee, the troglodyte, that's the larger one, and the dwarf chimpanzee, now recognized as the bonobo. These two groups illustrate either extreme on the issue of morality because they are in the class of lovers or fighters. Now, troglodytes are the only non-human species I know of who engage in actual war. They fight with fists just like we do. They use clubs, they throw stones. They'll even sharpen sticks, just like we do. In most animal societies, whenever there is a fight, most of the other individuals in a particular social group will get out of the way. In some instances, somebody may try to jump in and break it up. But in chimpanzee societies, when there is a fight, it divides the group into factions of enemies or allies, just as it does with us. But what makes them warriors is that chimpanzees will send out armed raiding parties to take over land, to take over food supplies, to conquer and even commit genocide. Whether it's other chimpanzees, whether it's bonobos, or whether it's colobus monkeys, they will be defeated, they will be run out, they may even be eaten. Their lands will be conquered, and their supplies absconded. Bonobos, on the other hand, are like a passive society of vegetarian hippies, working together, gathering sticks and such, as if for some sort of a communal, collective commune sort of thing. Having all the resources they need, they're content to live a lifestyle like bohemian suburbanites. Primatologist Sue Ravitch-Rumbach, who studies them in the Georgia State Preserve, says that bonobos are, or the bonobo society is both egalitarian and empathetic. She describes them as the happiest species on the planet. She also says that their sexuality is embarrassingly human-like. They are very openly sexual and sometimes bisexual. They engage in deep tongue kissing, oral sex, group sex, partner swapping, and of course masturbation. But they haven't gone blind or succumb to any of the other ravages of sin that so many of the moral majority have warned us against. In fact, they seem very well adjusted and have very good, strong bonds in their community. So which of these species are more likely to be judged as immoral? Obviously, morality should not be a matter of forced obedience, nor of trying to deny sexual drives even when they may be natural and healthy. Nor is it necessarily an adherence to traditional rituals or customs. In fact, it's only a traditional custom to say that it should be. Judgments of morality should be reserved from such trivialities and instead be concerned primarily with issues of abuse or compassion.